To the Talk. I'm James Keeney, and today we have some amazing guests. First up, Mark Twain.
Good to be here.
Hello, Mark. One of your most influential books, Huck Finn, was recently released a couple hundred years ago. You guys are doing success with that, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, it's been good. One of the main topics that we're going to focus on today, and the thing we're going to focus on in your book, is activism. So my first question to you would be, are there any kind of activism in your book?
I think there's many types of activism. I mean, there's a few examples, like, I would say there's Miss Watson freeing Jim on her deathbed was more of a indirect way of showing activism, but it also made Jim a likable person, which was, like, at the time, a contrast to society's beliefs. And also, I think schools banning the books today is a way of showing activism, and the way he also brought life to characters like the slaves and whatnot. I think that was also another way to show activism.
You did provide some examples for years to follow, insights on the harsh life of African Americans. That was a very difficult thing during the time period. Nowadays, it's changed a lot with social media and much more free speech that we're allowed to have in our country. How might the book have taken place differently if it was taken today?
It was taken today. I mean, as we know, like, today it's being banned and whatnot, but I think it's the way people look at it. So, like, it could be a good lesson or a bad lesson. Like, the use of the N-word obviously could be excessive to some people, but also could add effect to the story, so just the way you look at it.
There has been a lot of disruption along the literature community about people banning these books, which really has caused a lot of activism to happen. And some people something to believe in, something to care about, so that will take action against these people who try to oppress people's personal opinions through the books. And now, thank you, Mark, for coming. We'll talk to you later on. Ask you to talk to Angie Thomas, which will be up right after this break.
You do that for me? Really? Yeah, I'd like that.
Who are you talking to?
It's Jake from State Farm. Sounds like a really good deal.
Jake from State Farm at 3 a.m. Who is this?
It's Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis.
She sounds hideous.
Well, she's a guy, so...
Another reason more people stay with State Farm. Get to a better state.
Back, you loving audience. Now we have Angie Thomas, the author of the recently published New York Times bestseller, The Hate U Give. Angie, how's it going today? Awesome. You enjoying some success from your recent book, right? Yeah, awesome. Well, I heard they're recently making it into a movie, correct? So again, we're going to start focusing on activism, as we did with Mark Twain before. First question I'm going to have is, has activism affected any of the characters in your book?
Definitely, especially my main character, Star, because throughout the book, Star tries to stand up for her friend Khalil, who was unjustly killed due to police brutality because of racism in her society, especially in our society today, which can be correlated to the real world. And throughout the book, she uses her type of activism to try and stand up for not only Khalil, but all the other people that have died due to racism and police brutality. And at the very end of the book, she shows that her activism has affected her, because in the beginning she was scared to stand up and she was saying how she didn't feel brave, but in the very end she says that she will never back down, and then she wants other people to also stand up for her cause too.
She gives a reason for people to stand up for this cause. She is the spark that inspires this amazing movement that you've depicted beautifully in your book. I have an article from The Guardian here, which describes needing activism is, if people have an issue that they care about, they will take action. And I think you depicted it amazing, that the issue and the action together. In the end of the book, what's the overall idea that can be applied about activism? I think you did develop a very good one.
I think that the overall idea is that activism is not supported enough within society, because as shown in the book, within our school, it can be oppressed in society. Even if people are showing that they are doing it, they may not be doing it for the correct cause, because as I show in the scene where the people are only protesting for Khalil to get out of class in that one scene, it was shown to not really be activism, and it was just people trying to do it for their own benefit. We need more people that are serious about their type of activism. And within an article by this person named Sonia, she took a survey of multiple people that said that they were activists, and it's actually shown that some of them were suppressed with their type of activism in their workplace because of their bosses firing them due to their type of activism, which is showing that society is still corrupt and it still has people that are prejudiced against certain groups.
You did see that in the book that you kind of showed. The police officers, they were pretty much unable to act against, even if they thought it was right, they couldn't really speak out, with the exception of Uncle Carlo. Another form of activism I think is shown in your book is not just the protest at the end, but the Tumblr posts that Star uses, and I think that's another form of activism that I think is much more growing in this day and age.
Definitely. People usually use social media to not spread the news, but with Star, it shows that she really wants to make it so that media can finally put out what is actually happening within society. And her friend Haley suppresses that, being a product of society, and saying that oh, I don't want this on social media, but Star is saying that they do need that on social media. They do need to address all of these people unjustly being killed, and they do need to address this on every single media news station. And this does happen later in the book when she finally gets to speak out on a news show.
It's a very important thing that's happening nowadays. It's not only in the book either. I have an article here from the New York Times which describes how when Darren Wilson was not decided, the jury decided not to indict him, protests did not only spread nationwide through protests on the streets, it also spread on Tumblr and on Instagram and on Snapchat. And I think that there are similar levels of protests for the two. I think that's really something that's really helped us in this day and age in terms of activism. So yeah, thank you. We're going to have you back on in a couple minutes after this break. Please talk about your books. Thank you very much. Commercial.
You always put Cheez-It Grooves in your sandwich?
Of course, they're chips. Chips plus sandwich equals the perfect lunch.
Oh, don't forget the pickle. It's kind of a big deal.
Cheez-It Grooves, chips made with 100% real cheese. Dang right it's a chip.
And welcome back to The Top. I'm James Keeney, and I am back with my amazing guests for today, Mark Twain and Angie Thomas. Both amazing art authors from different eras, writing about very similar topics. Today we're going to talk about, or at the moment we've been talking about activism in society, and both in your books. I'm going to talk about how you guys have both inspired many people to come on the streets from different time periods. I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions. First one being, what do you think the most important form and most influential form of activism is? Mark, do you want to go first?
I would say physical protests. I think that because it gets the word around, but at the same time, violence can come along with that. But if you really believe in your movement, then you would be okay with violence, and as long as it can lead to a solution, then I think that would be the best option.
Protest is, again, a very powerful means of activism, which we've been talking about recently. But I believe in more modern time periods that we have grown to use many other tools. Angie, what's your opinion on this topic?
I believe that protests can help, but in today's world, media does spread really fast, and it could be used to benefit activism. Because within my novel, I do reference how Star, at first, she tries to use the media in order to spread awareness, but as she gains more popularity, since more people know that she was the one sitting next to Khalil within the car, more people do interview her, and she's able to get her word out to the media, especially when she's on the talk show, and the part where she asks the cop the question in the end, and she gives a really emphasis on her statement on saying how people should not be suppressed within society just because of the race.
It's a very powerful part of your book. But it's still a journey. We are still working towards activism being better and being more effective in society. There's many problems we still have to solve, including the ones that have been talked about in both your books, of Black lives being suppressed and neglected almost. Hopefully in the future it will become people's civic duty, as just as paying tax or putting out your recycling, to go out and protest and be part of the community. I also want to ask you guys both, what can we do to make this better? Because this is not good. This is good, but it can be a lot better, and I know you guys both believe that, evident from your writing. And I think your writing has been very helpful to further these causes. I want to know what you guys think we can do to help.
To make it better, I mean, we're doing a lot right now, but I think to make it better, you have to do more and more and more. Because obviously what we're doing right now isn't working. And it's getting the word out, but police and all the other people that are going against blacks right now are getting away with what they're doing. And right now, I think just doing more and more and more to get the word out would get the job done.
Everyone being involved, not just the select few who choose to go on the streets. And that's, I think, something that Angie was talking about before. With social media, anyone can post, anyone can retweet, and if everything helps. And I think that's a good point.
I mean, we have come a long way, but there is still so much to fix within society with this issue. I believe that a solution to this, at the very least, could be using the media to be able to spread this word. Because although the media can suppress activism, it can also, in some situations, benefit it at the same time. So I think that if we interviewed more people who have had personal experiences like this, and people who have seen it hand on hand and have had all these experiences with firsthand, seeing all of this go down in our society, and we address it to everyone and inform people that this is real, that this stuff is happening, that people are being oppressed because of their race, that we can make people more aware of this issue, and people will finally come to terms and understand that we need to as a whole try and make it so that people are finally all equal together.
You want everyone to have a reason to go out, correct?
Definitely.
Yes. And I think that's a big part of the problem, is many people see it and it's never going to happen to me. So they want to make it so anyone has this reason to go out and protest. And I think that's something we have to still work on. And I think that's something both of your books have given us a reason, given us an insight onto these Black lives. And I think that's caused a lot of people to have a reason to go out and protest and connect with these characters that are real lives.
Yes.
I want to thank you guys both for being on the show. It's been an amazing experience. Thank you guys both very much. And good night.